Good evening, everyone. You're listening to Red Pill 78. I am the Corruption Detector, and this is your Red Pill News. Hope everyone is having a lovely day. We've got several excellent stories lined up for you today. President Trump is beginning the process of removing millions of illegals and sending them back to their own countries. We've also got a story for you about the financial aid that has been cut to South and Central American countries. Also, President Trump is planning to live tweet the Democratic debates. You know that that's going to be amazing. Tom Fitton is going to be joining us. He's going to be breaking down John Kerry's State Department links to the junk anti-Trump dossier. Also, James O'Keefe has another surprise in store for the social media and tech companies. We'll get all of these stories and more on your plate in just a moment. We'll be back right after this quick word from my sponsor. Death in the family is probably one of the hardest things we'll ever have to face. I know when I lost my dad, I didn't know what I was going to do. But it's something we all have to deal with sooner or later. And all of us will leave behind final expenses like funeral costs, medical bills, and other debts. In fact, the average funeral alone can cost between $8,000 and $9,000. Having no insurance when you die can leave your loved ones with a huge bill to deal with, and no one wants that. But you can take control of your family's destiny today and have the satisfaction of knowing they will be financially taken care of. You can visit www.ratefamily.com and get a free quote. They're a trusted, veteran-owned and operated company, and they've helped thousands of people across the United States. You can select the best plan to fit your needs and your budget. Life insurance is very easy to budget for, and you can even choose how and how often you make the payments. Some members pay as low as $36 per month due to their income level. So visit www.ratefamily.com, or you can call 1-855-919-RATE. You'll be glad you did. All right, thank you so much for sticking around. I just want to say thank you so much to my sponsor, Rate Family. If you guys want to support the program, don't forget to check out my sponsors. They make everything you see here possible. All right, so first on the docket, Trump says that ICE is beginning the process of removing millions of illegal aliens. This is going to start next week. So President Trump announced this on Monday evening in a pair of tweets saying that ICE, which is of course Immigration and Customs Enforcement, will begin the process of removing illegal aliens who have illicitly entered the United States. He said in the tweet, next week, ICE will begin the process of removing the millions of illegal aliens who have illicitly found their way into the United States. They will be removed as fast as they come in. Mexico, using their strong immigration laws, is doing a very good job of stopping people long before they get to our southern border. And he says Guatemala is getting ready to sign a safe third agreement. The only ones who won't do anything are the Democrats in Congress. They must vote to get rid of the loopholes and fix asylum. If so, border crisis will end quickly, Trump added. And President Trump, of course, declared a national emergency back in February to divert funds from the Defense Department to use to build the border wall. Approximately 100,000 illegal aliens enter a month. They're pouring over the U.S. border with bogus asylum claims only to be released by Border Patrol into the U.S. communities. Hundreds of illegal aliens from Ebola-stricken Democratic Republic of Congo were dumped in the streets of San Antonio, Texas, just a couple weeks ago. And ICE also maintains a special housing facility for transgender illegal aliens on taxpayer dime, of course. Americans have had it. If Trump removes millions of illegal aliens and closes the border, he will win 2020 in a landslide. I have been predicting this for quite some time. Of course, President Trump is going to remove these illegals from our country, and of course he is going to finish closing the border down. We cannot have a secure nation with porous borders like the way we do right now, and of course we know that's the way that Democrats in Congress want it. That's the only reason possible for them to not take action every time that they're in session. Democrats, even Republicans, Congress in general has chosen not to do anything about this problem. We have so many issues that need attention. And right now, the Democrats and even some of the Republicans, Justin Amash, I'm looking at you, are talking about impeachment. Impeachment for what? The president has done nothing except go about the business of making our country safer. President Trump is following up on every single one of his campaign promises. I defy you to find me another candidate in the history of our nation who has followed through, promises made, promises kept. No one has done it like Donald Trump. I have such respect for our president. He is doing the job that is necessary to keep us and our children safe. And without our families, we are nothing. We must do everything we can to support this man, to make sure that he wins in 2020. Get out the vote, you guys. If you have never voted before, if you are watching this program and you even considered not voting for Trump, please, I implore you, please, please, please make sure you vote for President Donald Trump in 2020. Without Donald Trump, the United States is going to go down the tubes. We will become an SHIT whole country before you know it. Now, with regard to the immigrants, or excuse me, the refugees coming from the Democratic Republic of Congo, do you guys realize the trouble that someone has to go to get from the Democratic Republic of Congo into Mexico and then just walk across our southern border? The only reason that we are seeing such an influx of people from Congo is because they know that they can do it. They know the Democrats have done nothing. They know that the border is not finished. They know that it is at this moment being worked on. So it is far easier for them to just walk through illegally and then get dumped into a U.S. community, a sanctuary city, someplace where they know they're going to be safe and they can probably get themselves a driver's license, even though they have absolutely no idea how to drive a car and they don't know about the laws and rules here in America. And of course, nothing's going to happen to them if they're in these sanctuary cities or these sanctuary states, because that's what the Democrats have decided they want to do. They would rather protect illegals who don't have any claim or sovereignty here in America, and they would just turn away all of the Americans who are natural-born citizens or who have even become citizens through a very rigorous process. They know these fake refugees coming from Congo, coming from other countries, all they have to do is go to Mexico and they can just walk across the border. This is a big problem. I have no problem with people seeking asylum here in the United States, but Mexico is a pretty nice place to go, all right, especially if you're coming from the Congo. If they've made it to Mexico, then they can apply for asylum there in Mexico. They do not need to be walking across the border illegally. I ask that all of us keep a very close eye on this situation because someone, a source, shall we say, someone within the federal government and perhaps in the CDC has told me that we are sending people to Congo at this very moment specifically to work on the Ebola problem. It is bad, folks. And if we get people bringing Ebola over to the United States, then it's game over. So keep your family safe. Make sure that everyone is clean and safe, and if there are immigrants from Congo, there better be a big plan in place to take care of them. We cannot just take people from a place like Congo, where Ebola is rampant, and dump them into American cities and hope that everything is going to be okay. All right, next, like I said, the Trump administration has officially cut financial aid to Honduras, El Salvador, and Guatemala until they take action on the illegal migrants. The State Department's Morgan Ortagus announced on Monday that the U.S. will halt foreign aid to El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras until they are satisfied that the Northern Triangle governments are taking concrete actions to reduce the number of illegal migrants coming to the U.S. border. And it's about time. According to the AP, roughly $400 million worth of aid already approved for projects in 2017 and 2018 will, in those countries, continue. According to the AP, roughly $400 million worth of aid already approved for projects in 2017 and 2018 in those countries is going to continue. And tens of thousands of Central American migrants have already crossed into America this year. This is something we all know too well. Let's go ahead and listen to this little tidbit here from Morgan Ortagus announcing President Trump's plan.
Next, I have a quick update for you on U.S. foreign assistance to the Northern Triangle countries of El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras. As you know, in March, the president concluded these countries have not effectively prevented illegal migrants from coming to the United States. At the Secretary's instruction, we continue to implement the president's direction regarding foreign assistance for El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras. We completed a review. And previously awarded grants and contracts will continue with current funding. State Department assistance in support of priorities of the Departments of Justice and Homeland Security priorities to help the Northern Triangle governments take actions that will protect the U.S. border and counter transnational organized crime will also continue. We will not provide new funds for programs in those countries until we are satisfied the Northern Triangle governments are taking concrete actions to reduce the number of illegal migrants coming to the U.S. border. Working with Congress, we will reprogram those funds to other priorities as appropriate. This is consistent with the President's direction and with the recognition that it is critical that there be sufficient political will in these countries to address the problem at its source. As Secretary Pompeo has said, these nations have the responsibility to take care of the immigration problems in their home country.
Well said. This is keeping with the president's agenda, and this is also an incentive for these countries to take care of the problem at home. We all know that it worked with Mexico. President Trump whipped out the big stick on Mexico. Mexico did an about-face. They made the changes that were necessary, and now they are helping us in making sure that we don't have all these illegal migrants coming across the border. The same needs to be said for the Central American countries, such as Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador. All of them. They all need to take care and do their part to make sure that people are not coming up here illegally and just crossing the southern border. These countries have real problems. I want to see these countries succeed. I want these countries to make it so that people are not needing to leave and go seek asylum. And like I said earlier, if they are legitimately, legally seeking asylum, by all means, go through the process. But if you choose to just walk across our southern border after walking hundreds of miles through Mexico and just come into Texas and you're going to, think that you're going to take over, that's not a good thing. That's not going to happen. You need to do it illegally. You need to do it legally, and you need to do it the right way. Now, as promised, President Trump is planning to live tweet the Democratic debates. I think this is another genius move. President Trump is a master Twitter troll, and he's planning his greatest troll fest yet. The president is tentatively planning to live tweet the debates on June 26th and 27th, according to people familiar with the planning, which was reported by the Wall Street Journal on Tuesday. Mr. Trump, even from a remove, always promised to be the most important figure at the debate. Regardless of the specific debate questions, many Democratic voters will be listening for how each candidate plans to take down Mr. Trump. Interacting in real time on Twitter would make Mr. Trump's presence even more tangible by directly inserting himself into the political conversation unfolding on stage. His posts could provide instant responses as well as insights into which attacks he feels most acutely. Something tells me President Trump is not going to feel any of the attacks acutely. This is all going to backfire on the Democrats. But the Journal said the plans aren't firm, adding political advisors warned that planning for debate night remains fluid and that Mr. Trump can change his mind. Trump's almost daily attacks are a double-edged sword. While he enjoys taking down weak candidates like former Texas Rep. Robert Beto O'Rourke and Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Pocahontas Warren, those attacks raise their stature, making them seemingly worth addressing. Trump has gone after frontrunner Joe Biden and Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders as well, and both have been rising in the polls of late. 20 Democrats will debate next Wednesday and Thursday. 3 of the announced 23 candidates did not make the cut. Now, we've got this list here. We got Cory Booker, Julian Castro, Bill de Blasio, John Delaney, Tulsi Gabbard, Jay Inslee, Amy Klobuchar, Beto O'Rourke, Tim Ryan, and Elizabeth Warren at the first one. Then on June 27th, we've got Michael Bennet, Joseph R. Biden Jr., Pete Buttigieg, Kristen Gillibrand, Kamala Harris, John Hickenlooper, Bernie Sanders, Eric Swalwell, Marianne Williamson, Andrew Yang, and that means 2 of the top 3 candidates in the polls will face off on night 2, Biden and Sanders. Harris, too, will be there, as will Buttigieg, also in the top tier. Warren, meanwhile, is stuck in the also-rans. The latest Quinnipiac poll stacks up this way. Biden with 30, Sanders with 19, Warren with 15, Buttigieg with 8, Harris 7, O'Rourke 3, Booker 1, Klobuchar 1, Bennett 0, Yang 1, Gillibrand 0, Inslee 0, Castro 0, and all the rest have 0 as well. So Warren at 15 will face off with a candidate at 3 and another at 1. The debates will be moderated by the NBC anchors Lester Holt, Savannah Guthrie, and Chuck Todd. The Telemundo anchor Jose Diaz-Balart and the MSNBC host Rachel Madcow. With Trump live tweeting, look for some new nicknames. Trump is a master of that, too. He calls Warren Pocahontas for her false claims that she's Native American. He calls Senator Richard Blumenthal, the Connecticut Democrat who falsely claimed to have fought in the Vietnam War, Donning Dick. And Jeb Bush was, of course, low-energy Jeb. Then there's Crooked Hillary, Lion Leak and James Comey, Jeff Flakey, Head Clown Chuck Schumer, and Mad Maxine Waters. And don't forget No Name. This is going to be great, guys. If President Trump is live tweeting these debates, I think what I'm going to do is cover President Trump live tweeting the debates, and we will see this happen in live real time. President Trump has no competition among any of these people, and I seriously doubt any of these numbers that they're showing here. And if you have any numbers of these Democratic candidates up against President Trump, you surely know that they are being manipulated because President Trump is going to win in a landslide. That doesn't mean he doesn't need to do some hard work. That doesn't mean that he needs to quit stumping and quit going across the country with nonstop rallies. President Trump's rallies are getting bigger and better every single time. It is almost impossible to get in there if you don't show up a couple days early and camp out on that concrete in the parking lot. I cannot wait to see these Democratic debates. The other thing about it is every time one of these candidates opens their mouth, they're talking about Trump. They are giving him press. They continue to remind people that he is better than they are and that he has done a fantastic job. All they want to do is smear him and pretend like he hasn't done anything. But President Trump is the most successful president in the history of this country. And with such opposition coming from Congress, it is really, really awe-inspiring. Thank you once again, President Trump, and I am looking forward to all of these nutcases and the Democratic debates. All right, next up, Tom Fitton is breaking down the John Kerry State Department links to the anti-Trump Steele dossier. On Monday night, Judicial Watch founder and president Tom Fitton joined Lou Dobbs to discuss the ongoing Spygate scandal against candidate and President Donald Trump. In a new twist, Judicial Watch uncovered former Secretary of State John Kerry's links to the scandal. Now, the former president, B.O., used his administration and all of the power of the U.S. government to spy on candidate Trump and then his transition team during and after the 2016 election. In May, conservative watchdog group Judicial Watch released 4 pages of documents from the DOJ showing former Associate Deputy Attorney General Bruce Orr and State Department official Kathleen Kvelic targeting Donald Trump with Steele dossier material after Trump already won the 2016 election. On Monday, Tom Fitton had more on the State Department's role in the Spygate scandal. He said the State Department was in the center of the storm when it comes to these anti-Trump efforts. He, Lindsey Graham, should crank up the Judiciary Committee to see what went on here. The Democrat-controlled Intel Committee, and I don't say that lightly considering the Republicans control the Senate, are obviously harassing Trump. Senator Graham has got to step into the gap here. I agree. Let's go ahead and take a listen to that clip from Tom Fitton.
You can't be serious. John Kerry, Steny Hoyer's national security aide, working together with Christopher Steele. Tell us it's just preposterous and it couldn't have happened.
Well, Steele had an in with the State Department going back years, even before the 2016 elections. He knew this Jonathan Weiner guy going back some time. Weiner was helping him out, according to the documents we have. And then once the dossier came up, he conveyed that to the senior State Department official, Victoria Nuland. And then Nuland is obviously talking about that with House Democrats. Other documents we have, Lou, show that the State Department was a key area or a key agency in the anti-Trump efforts, shepherding the dossier not only to the Congress, but to the Justice Department, even through Steele. You know, we think that Steele has the one dossier. Oh, no. The State Department was sending its own material separately to Congress. So if A.G. Barr is going to look at this, he needs to not only look at DOJ, FBI, NSA, CIA, State Department's in the center of the storm when it came to these anti-Trump coup efforts.
And he's going to need to look at the Senate Intelligence Committee. He's going to need as well to look at how did John McCain get his hands on the Steele dossier. And how is it that he's sitting there working with a former agent of MI6 at a security conference who is the person designated for him to hand over the dossier to the FBI, which he does. Very little discussion about that path, that circuitous path through the intelligence agencies of our so-called allies. It's pretty stunning stuff for there not to have been any significant public discussion of all of this at this late date.
Well, it explains why you have this sort of desperate activity by the House Democrats to harass the president's team even further with this ridiculous consideration of trying to bypass executive privilege, which won't work.
By the way, it's not only indecent, it is beneath contempt, and it's also just stupid what they're doing. The Democrats get dumber. And the Republicans, the House Republicans, there are a handful who are fighting for this president. But those Republicans need to stand as one and say, you will leave this president the hell alone. And the Senate Republicans look like complete buffoons, and I'm starting with Lindsey Graham, the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, who should be defending this president and creating a countervailing influence against the morons who run the House Intelligence Committee and the House Judiciary Committee. Yes.
Senator Graham has got to step into the gap here, I agree. But quickly on the Democrats, Lou, the flack they're throwing up is designed to protect themselves from scrutiny. Forget about investigating the investigators. We need to be investigating Congress about its role in the anti-Trump coup, which in my view continues through its abuse of power at the House, targeting his IRS forms, his confidential IRS data, harassing him generally. The reason they're doing this is because they don't want the world to stop and focus on their misconduct, their political party misconduct in engendering Spygate.
Where are the pundits talking about this? Where are the people in Washington talking about this? We've got a little bit here, a little bit there, but people need to wake up and they need to accept the fact that Congress does not work for us. So far, they have been working for themselves, they have been working for their own interests in business, and they have been working against President Trump. These guys, Lou Dobbs, Tom Fitton, they are 100% right. Congress needs to step up. We've got Lindsey Graham out there talking about some stuff, but it is not enough. They need to come out swinging at the Democrats because they are corrupt beyond belief. It is unfathomable sometimes that they have been able to get away with this for so long, and the American public needs to really stand up and start talking about it. We need to take control of our government again, and we need to make it work for us. President Trump is doing that, but there is more that we can do, and maybe that's going to include running some different candidates against these know-nothing, do-nothing rhinos and donkeys in Congress. All right, next, Angela Merkel looking very nervous. She uncontrollably had the shakes while she was meeting with the new Ukrainian president. And people are expressing concern for German Chancellor Angela Merkel's health after she was caught on camera uncontrollably shaking during a meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in Berlin on Tuesday. The alarming incident was apparently not the first time that Merkel, 65, was seen violently shaking in similar circumstances, according to a report from DPA news agency. In the footage, a military band plays their national anthems, and Merkel's shaking becomes more aggressive as time goes on. How weird. Let's go ahead and take a look. Okay, very, very disturbing. Looks like she has either some kind of early onset Parkinson's going on, or it almost looked like she was responding to that band playing the song. Like when they would crescendo, her shaking would become worse. But clearly, Angela Merkel is not okay. And in 2014, Merkel postponed a television interview at the last minute after reported weakness, but her spokesperson said at the time that she was able to carry it out later after eating and drinking something. Merkel told a reporter who had asked if she was okay that she is fine and felt better after drinking some water. Since then, I've drunk at least 3 glasses of water, which I apparently needed, and now I'm doing very well, she said. It is unclear if Merkel is suffering from any health problems, as Germany just does not generally disclose the medical conditions of politicians. Now, if you'll also notice at the end, it looked like Zelensky probably turned to her and asked her if she was okay. If I was standing next to a head of state and she was doing that while we were watching a band play in some type of official state visit, I think that I would become very concerned myself. So we're going to take one more look at this, and let's just see if you guys notice anything else. Wow. Yeah, it looked to me like she would almost shake, to a greater degree as those drums were getting, harder and harder. And it definitely looks to me like Zelensky turned to her and asked if she was okay. It looked like she was shaking just every single part of her body, and it was getting very, very difficult for her to continue to stand up. So what do you guys think is wrong with Angela Merkel? Leave that comment in the comments below. All right, and finally, folks, if you don't know, well, the FBI is currently investigating 8chan. They've opened a probe into 8chan, and it's basically a prelude to the continued elimination of independent publishers and the open press. Now, author and pundit Michael Malice joined Jack Posobiec on One American News on Monday, and Malice and Posobiec discussed the FBI investigation into 8chan. This comes after the popular message board Vote went offline for several hours this past weekend. In March, an evil, bloodthirsty killer stormed 2 religious places in New Zealand and slaughtered 47 people. The media later reported that individual advertised the event and the fact that he would stream it live on the message board site 8chan. According to Foreign Policy, 8chan is an image-sharing site that prides itself on hosting content deemed too offensive for the internet's other cesspools. I would have to say that that's not true. 8chan is a place for free speech, and unfortunately, free speech can be considered offensive to some people, but it is not the point. It is not to be offensive. It is to have a place where people are free to speak their minds and say what they want, no matter how offensive it is. It took authorities less than 24 hours to shut down mobile access to 8chan and Vote in this country, and they are a member of the Five Eyes network, as you, my viewers, know all too well. Now, 8chan and Vote boards and users are very open of their opposition to the deep state, and Michael Malice warned that the FBI investigation of 8chan is a prelude in the deep state and establishment media's continued assault on independent publishers and opposition websites. Malice stated, "It's a lot easier for them to say, hey, this is an alt-right hate speech board. They're under investigation, and this is a prelude to getting sites like this shut down." Posobiec says, why is it that they are talking about 8chan? He live streamed it on Facebook. Nobody's talking about taking down Facebook because of this guy. Malice responds, how it works is you are on the side of the corporate press or you are unorthodox, and the unorthodox venues are a threat to their kind of dominance because their argument is they are legitimate and anyone outside of their orbit is illegitimate and therefore pay no attention and don't listen to it. Michael absolutely nailed it. In 2016, smaller, unorthodox publishers and voices pushed Donald Trump across the finish line. Since 2017, those voices have been intentionally silenced. This is the kind of stuff that we talk about here on this program on a regular basis. Censorship is probably the worst right now in our history than at any other time. And what's really striking is that despite all that censorship, the message is being shared to an even greater degree than ever before. People seek out this information, all right? People seek out the knowledge. They want to know what's really going on. They are sick of the regular mainstream media, the fake news, telling them what to believe, especially when they can tell deep down inside that what they are being fed is absolute hogwash. So thank you so much to everyone who tunes into this program, everyone who supports independent media. The work we do is more important than you can possibly imagine, or perhaps you already understand that, and that's why you're here. All right, folks, I think that's all that I have for you today. I want to thank everyone for joining me. As always, this has been Red Pill 78. I am the Corruption Detector, and this was your Red Pill News. Good luck, everyone, and God bless.